decision rejection.
Yeah, that's what it is. Right, that's what it is.
So you can find a decision different. Everybody makes a decision.
You're right.
Every time.
You're absolutely right.
You're going to left.
Exactly right.
Even walking, you make a decision.
Exactly right.
Okay.
You're absolutely correct. That's what it is. But a lot of people misunderstand that concept.
So when you get into judgment, like you use the example of the brother talking about Buddhism,
right.
That's a different kind of
No, it's not.
decision.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It's a decision based on his opinion.
Right.
Okay, not fact, his opinion about what Buddhism is.
Right. What you should have done, or what anybody would have done, should have done when he said that. Well, how do you know, brother? And what did he say?
I did.
All right, we'll get to that later.
Okay.
The definition, the issue is, and maybe,
know about this.
Right. And
did you listen to his answer? His answer was back to the sheep. What nationality?
Right. And maybe he was trying to lead you into something else.
Obviously.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
To try to maybe further answer why that was not.
That was a judgment.
Why that practice? Yeah, it was a judgment. I would say that's a right. To try to steer you to the truth.
But what he didn't do, okay, and which is what I'm saying is a source of conflict. What he didn't do, he didn't find who I was.
So exactly. So now before you leave, right? Before I can hand it back over. What is your origin? Because you said you know your origin, your family bloodline and all that. What is that? Because that was my initial question.
I was a Buddha many times in my life.
You were a Buddha?
Thousands and thousands of years.
So your lineage, your family line.
Where I come in at, where I come into this life at. It's not necessarily where I'm coming from.
Oh, now understand my question. You understand my question? Because you said, you know, your family line. Family line meaning your father, your father's father. Going back on your family tree, you come from a man named Buddha. That's what you're saying. Okay.
So now, how do you prove that? 1 Thessalonians 5:21. Because no matter what we deal with, we always have to have proof as far as showing them.
But you're still not understanding where we're coming from. Because when we speak about nationality, it talks about nativity, or where you come from, the seed, your father, your heritage, right? Your pedigree, right? Read that real quick.
Job chapter 8, verse 8. For I inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers.
To the search of their fathers. Because when you understand nativity or nationality, who you are, it comes from the seed. It comes from your father's lineage. So now, my question, let me just make sure, before talking, so there's no confusion. My question was, so on your father's side, and there's a reason why I'm saying on my father's side, I'm not sure if you want to know, but on your father's side, there is a man, your great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, his name was Buddha, right? Hold on. And he adopted or resurrected these principles by which you live, or this culture by which many people of different ethnicities and nationalities live by. So, am I saying that question is impossible because you have many different types of people who follow that? All right. Okay. All right. Go ahead, brother.
You believe in God?
Yes.
Okay. You believe in creating you?
Yes.
This is not your father?
Yes. Okay. But now,
so why then? Okay, so your nationality on this earth,
right?
Okay, your lineage or your father, your earth father,
right?
Okay, is not.
Why is that important?
He's your father because you chose him,
right?
Because you came to him to learn something about your life,
right?
Your growth,
right?
But it's continuous.
Right.
It didn't start here. It won't stop.
Yes,
it was
right.
From beginning of time to when there will be no time.
So did we just read? Did you hear what we just read? Right? Did you hear what we just read? Did you remember what we just read? All right, read it again. Get Job 8. Because this is the key. Granted, yeah, we believe in God, but the same power, that's what the word God means. That's not his name, right? That's not his name. God means, the word God means power. So it's a title. So when we get into these names that everybody has, Buddha, then you have to understand, what does that word mean? Where did it come from? But, that's another topic. Right, that's another topic. But this same power has given us principles, history, laws, ceremoniously, of it, right? So that's why he asks you, what proofs do you have of this? That dates back to, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of years that you may claim Buddha existed and created everyone, right? Because Buddha would, in your view, Buddha would have created everyone, right? No? Okay, even more interested. But read that again.
Job chapter 8, verse 8. For I inquire, I pray thee, of the former age.
Of the what?
Former age.
So now, you have to know about the former age to know how we got here to this current age. This is the latter days, not the latter day of the law. What does that mean, latter day of the law? So you have a law.
The latter day of the law is this period of time.
So you have a law?
No, I have a prophet.
So you're in the latter day of the prophecy, not the law. Okay. And what book is this?
Oh, okay. Okay, so let's stay on the topic of nationality. This is important because we see eye to eye on some things, other things we don't. As far as the importance of nationality and where we come from. So you got 1 Thessalonians 5:21. Read that for the brother.
1 Thessalonians chapter 5:21. Prove all things.
The Bible says prove all things. So now, if you could show me and prove, it could just be prophecy. Because we do the same thing as far as showing what happened then, why we're here right now, and where we're going. How do you know, how do you prove your ancestry, your lineage? Where you come from? Because
there's what we believe in is what's called a naturalistic law that governs the earth.
okay.
Within that, there are certain rules and certain laws that apply to your behavior, your conduct, that allow you to receive benefits from that law, or you reap what you sow.
Okay.
So if you live a life that God has created, okay, you treat other people with that respect and that love, then that love will come back to you, and that respect will come back to you.
Okay.
Through continuous study and practice, you can elevate your life condition to a point where you can constantly or continuously experience happiness. Okay, and you can teach other people how.
Okay, so this kind of goes back to my question I asked you before about happiness. What's the standard for happiness? As far as one person's happiness, maybe someone else's misery. But I mean, if you're creating misery for someone else, but you're happy, how does it come back to you? If you're creating your happiness.
If a person is living outside of the law, if he's living outside of the law,
but you chose to stay.
Okay.
If he's the person who feels that other people will have, and that's his happiness,
But that's his happiness. So you're saying, so you get a book in your book bag. Was it going into some principles that are universal that... I'm not arguing with that. But what I want to see is, give me some principles, like 10 at least, or just a couple principles you're talking about that universally bring about happiness for all people that you have to abide by in order to reap that goodness from that happiness that we're talking about. What will be some principles? Because for any doctrine, any system, you have to have principles that all can agree upon, right? Just like in a workplace. If everybody agrees that being on time means coming before 8, not 8 a.m., not 8:01, not 8:02, everyone knows you got to come before 8. That means you can't come any later than 7:59 and 59 seconds.